Agu, you are going to kill this man. You are going to kill him today. Put him on his ass, So when you are chopping wood, you lift up high. Then when you are ready, you come down so into the flesh. I said, shut your mouth, huh? Shut your mouth. This is hard. It's hard, so you must split them good. Agu, these are the ones that killed your father. Go on. These are the ones, the dogs that killed your father. Chop him.
It's a time of war, and Agu and his family are running for their lives. A man waves them into a nearby store, and they rush inside, shutting the door behind them. In the darkness, they huddle together, hearts racing as they pray not to be found. Outside, gunfire rattles through the streets, bullets shredding walls as soldiers exchange fire. Then suddenly, a single shot from an army tank rips through the store's wooden panels, sending everyone into a panic. In a moment of sheer terror, a man flings the door open and bolts outside. But before he can get far, the soldiers gun him down, along with others who attempt to flee. The remaining survivors are dragged outside and forced to their knees as the soldiers demand to know which faction they are fighting for.
You are native defense forces, No, I am the section chief. We are trying to stop the looters.
To confirm their identities, they summon a local woman, hoping she will vouch for them. Instead, driven by an old grudge, she snitches.
Do you know this man?
Massa, please. This woman, everybody knows she's crazy.
I don't know them. They are not from here. They must be rebels.
Agu's father begs for mercy, but the soldiers remain unmoved. They issue a death sentence on the spot. With no time left, the scared father urges his sons to run while he stays behind. A volley of gunfire erupts, cutting him down in an instant. Before Agu can even process the horror, his older brother is shot as well. Agu rushes to him, desperate, but another bullet snaps past his head. With no choice, he abandons his brother and bolts into the forest. Alone and grief-stricken, Agu wanders aimlessly, mourning his family. Hunger gnaws at him until he stumbles upon a small hut. Inside, he finds a sack of flour and a few cooking utensils. He attempts to start a fire, but the flames refuse to catch. Left with no choice, he becomes a vegan to ease his hunger, only for his body to reject the unfamiliar food. Weak and sick, he presses deeper into the wilderness. The next morning, Agu stumbles into the middle of a gunfight. He ducks into a corner, but a man armed with a machete lunges at him. Mistaking Agu for a PLF soldier, the rebels drag him off, restraining and stripping him alongside the other captives. Moments later, the Commandant arrives to address the group. His eyes fall on Agu, surprised to see someone so young among the hostages. The Commandant learns that it was a boy named Strika who captured Agu. He turns to his second-in-command, 2IC, asking what should be done with the child. 2IC dismisses him, insisting Agu is too small to pose a threat, but the Commandant isn't convinced.
A boy has hands to strangle and fingers to pull triggers. A boy is very, very dangerous. You understand me? Very dangerous. You understand?
The Commandant questions Agu, demanding to know why he's alone in the forest. When Agu stays silent, he threatens to let Strika eat him.
You should be telling me. If you are telling me, I will be helping you. You see, Strika is hungry. He will eat you. What are you doing here?
Terrified, Agu finally speaks, explaining that soldiers murdered his family and forced him into the woods. Instead of discarding him, the Commandant sees potential.
Leave this one under my charge. I will be training him to be a warrior. So you can be fighting the army that is killing your father. Is that what you want? You must be saying yes! Yes, sir!
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir!
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir!
Yes, sir.
The rebels then hand Agu a box of supplies, and with that they set out. For hours, they march through the jungle until the whir of a helicopter sends them diving beneath the canopy for cover. When they reach the rebel hideout, the men break into song to announce their return. Rations are handed out to everyone, except Agu, who watches with hungry eyes. Desperate, he begs for food, but the soldiers mock him, reminding him he isn't one of them. One of the men, known as Preacher, orders Agu to climb onto an empty stool and salute. Later, 2IC gathers the young soldiers. He explains that the NRC has seized the chaos to form their own government, but they won't support it. Their true fight, he says, is against the corrupt politicians who trade away their country's resources for dollars.
They have spit on the Constitution. They have spit on your rights. They have tried to spit on your future.
They are the NDF, and they will kill anyone who stands in their way. The next day, the Commandant rallies the NDF. He fires them up with talk of revenge against the PLF soldiers who assaulted their women and slaughtered their families.
I have to get revenge. We have been defending ourselves against the killings and rapings of our own people from the PLF and now from the NRC junta.
He urges them not only to fight, but to seize wealth for themselves along the way.
We will not wait to inherit any wealth. We will not wait for them to come and give it to us. We are going to take it. All of you that have never been listened to before and have seen your family killed, you now have something that stands for you. You are my family.
Later that day, the new recruits are initiated by men in black who chant strange incantations. They cut into Agu's skin, then force him to take a Mr. Beast challenge.
I have a camera here, and down by my feet.
When he's finally pulled out, the soldiers declare him reborn. To seal the initiation, they unleash fire at them to convince them they're now bulletproof. When the rounds bounce away, the Commandant declares they are now invincible. That night, the NDF torch their huts and march out. They halt at a bridge, preparing an ambush. Before the attack begins, Preacher pulls Agu aside and warns him to stay silent, no matter what. Even if a snake bites him, he should die in silence. Moments later, someone sends out a signal that the PLF convoy is approaching. The NDF army blocks the road and launches a missile before they can escape. Preacher runs out of ammunition and instructs Agu to bring some more for him. The Commandant orders his men to seize the enemy's supplies and haul out any survivors. They drag one forward, and he fixes his gaze on Agu, commanding him to finish the man.
Agu, you are going to kill this man. You are going to kill him today.
The captive drops to his knees, begging for mercy, but the Commandant leans closer and reminds Agu that this is the kind of man who slaughtered his family. He then takes a blade from one of his men and demonstrates how to use it.
So when you are chopping wood, you lift up high. Then when you are ready, you come down so. Well, into the flesh. I said, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. I'm making it hard. This is hard. It's hard, so you must split them good.
Agu hesitates, pity flooding his eyes, but under the Commandant's pressure, he forces himself to act. Strika steps in beside him, and the moment spirals beyond control. Agu's grief collapses into fury, his movements growing harsher as despair hardens into something darker. When the adrenaline fades, Agu whispers a prayer, confessing to God that he has committed the worst sin of all. Yet deep down, he convinces himself it was the right thing to do. 2IC then gives Agu his very own gear and tells him to take care of it. Moments later, Agu stumbles aside and vomits, sickened by what this new life is turning him into. Later, Strika offers Agu his shoes, a rare gesture of trust. Curious, Agu asks about him, but Strika only responds with gestures. Agu studies him, wondering why the boy has never spoken a single word, and finally asks him why. The next day, the NDF depart in the stolen vehicles of the dead. They halt in a forest where Agu and Strika drift into a game of hide-and-seek while the others go hunting. Some of the soldiers corner a rat and kill it. Soon after, their voices rise in song, celebrating at last because they've found something to eat. Later at night, as the men have their dinner, the Commandant tells them all about the rewards they'll enjoy once the war is over, from good food to fine women.
The women are too beautiful, yeah. Too beautiful. They're having bottoms with specifications so nice that the ground where they're sitting down is also rejoicing.
Not long after, 2IC alerts him that they found some refugees, and he suggests they return their land to them. The next day, the NDF launch an assault on another village held by the PLF. As casualties mount, 2IC pleads with the Commandant for support.
Some of our men are injured. Copy, sir. We will reapply pressure and push for the bridge.
That is your task!
Calmly, the Commandant whips out his new 3D headset to pinpoint enemy positions, then hands it to Agu to try for himself. When Strika reaches out, the Commandant coldly ignores him. The Commandant riles up his men and orders them to bring down the bridge.
I'm only taking the brave. I'm not taking the scary. I'm not taking no girls.
Once the theatrics end, he leads the charge, pushing ahead of the others. As the NDF advance, 2IC emerges from his position, and gunfire erupts in every direction. The clash is fierce, but the rebels overpower the PLF forces. That night, while a funeral ceremony takes place, Agu searches the bodies of fallen soldiers for weapons. Instead, he turns up some protein powder before stepping out to rejoin the others. Moments later, Strika approaches and signals toward the Commandant's quarters. Agu slips into the Commandant's office and overhears him on the radio with his superior, the Supreme Commandant. The orders are clear. Train 2IC to become a leader, conquer more villages, push toward the capital, and map out their path to victory.
You want to be a general, don't you, Commander?
Yes, sir.
I need to pull that out.
The Commandant agrees without hesitation. When the call ends, Agu steps forward and hands him the protein powder he found. The Commandant praises Agu's bravery in battle, telling him he has the makings of a leader. But Agu, still just a boy, insists he's content being a follower. Twisting the moment, the Commandant lures him into his quarters, presenting a beanie strung with a charm as a token of appreciation. To make matters worse, he asks a favor from Agu. And let's just say the beanie isn't the only thing he takes. August staggers out of the Commandant's room, barely able to walk. Strika, his only true friend, rushes over and checks him for injuries. At that moment, Agu understands why Strika never speaks. The next morning, the boys chase chickens around the camp, hoping to catch their dinner. Agu keeps to himself, withdrawn from the group, until Preacher notices his sour mood and calls out to him.
Oh boy, what is wrong you? What is wrong you?
Preacher makes a small cut on Agu's head and rubs a strange powder into the wound, calling it good luck. The moment Agu takes it, his world tilts and begins to spin. Later, the Commandant gathers his men for battle. He tells them their next target is a town accused of collaborating with traitors, and warns that not a single soul will be spared. As they march toward war, the rebels pass a bus packed with people, but their charms keep them unseen. Agu, still reeling from the powder, swears he hears his mother's voice as they approach the battlefield. When the villagers scatter in panic, the NDF army mow them down without mercy. Later, Strika and Agu exchange a fleeting smile, while some of the younger recruits mimic the Commandant. Piece by piece, Agu begins to accept this brutal new reality, slipping further into the life of a child soldier. Later, they raid another village, tearing it apart. While smashing through homes, Agu stumbles upon a woman and her young daughter. In his haze, he mistakes the woman for his mother and embraces her. She pushes him away, insisting he isn't her son. The realization stings, and Agu backs off. The soldiers then descend on the woman with vicious laughter. Nearby, Strika turns on the child, and Agu, terrified and overwhelmed, follows his lead, sinking further into the darkness closing around him. Overcome by pity, Agu returns to the room and brings the ordeal to an end, cutting short the woman's suffering. The other soldiers lash out at him for ruining their fun, but Agu walks away cold and unbothered. Do you think Agu still holds on to any shred of innocence, or has he fully become just another child soldier consumed by the horrors of war? Let me know in the comments below. Later, at the town hall, the Commandant oversees as grenades are forced into the mouths of hostages. Without flinching, he turns and walks away, announcing that the Supreme Commandant has summoned them. The Commandant orders his men to leave one survivor, to spread the word about the NDF.
Tell them that we are coming. It's only the beginning.
He then pulls Strika and Agu into his squad before setting out to meet the Supreme Commandant. At the gate, he introduces himself, and the guards allow them through. When they arrive at the Supreme Commandant's quarters, the rebels are told to wait in the reception. The Commandant glares at the Asian man seated beside him, seething with suspicion. Moments later, an aide returns and informs the man that Goodblood wishes to see him. The Commandant, stunned, can't believe the Supreme Commandant would grant the Asian dude an audience before him. The group waits for hours before anyone acknowledges them. They're finally led into another room, only to be told to wait again. Restless, the Commandant demands water for his men, but all they're given are cheap plastic sachets. His eyes drift to the grand seat reserved for the Supreme Commandant, and he stares at it with envy before sleep overtakes him. Several hours later, the aide returns with news. The Supreme Commandant is ready to see them. Dada Goodblood greets the soldiers warmly, then orders the Commandant's men to go eat. Only 2 IC is told to remain behind. Once the others leave, the Supreme Commandant reveals a change of plans. The assault on the capital is cancelled. Instead, he promotes the Commandant to Chief of Security while handing command of his battalion to 2 IC. The Commandant quickly understands this isn't a reward, it's a way to put him in his place. 2 IC accepts the new role without hesitation, but the Commandant snaps at him to shut his mouth and leave. Alone with Dada, he accuses him of demotion and demands the wealth he was promised. Dada cuts him down coldly, reminding him of a soldier's obedience.
Your first duty is obedience. Your second duty is obedience. Your third duty is obedience. Without obedience, you have nothing.
He then reminds him that he is the face of the movement, not the Commandant. Defeated, the Commandant asks for one last night with his men before departing. He takes his men to a place that's hard to pin down. Part bar, part brothel, the film keeps it intentionally vague. Inside, they're served lukewarm beer. 2 IC makes a move to join the others, but the Commandant stops him, insisting he stay. This night is in honor of his promotion. The Commandant calls for the manager to bring out women to entertain the men and demands a special one for 2 IC. Soon, the women are brought in. The men each take one, while the younger boys are left aside.
Any bullshit?
With the men gone, Agu's eyes linger on one of the young waitresses, a flicker of curiosity stirring in him. But before he can act on it, a gunshot cracks through the air. The NDF soldiers drag out 2 IC's body, still clinging to life. He accuses the Commandant of setting him up, but his words fall on deaf ears. Instead, the Commandant turns to the women, demanding an explanation. One admits she was toying with his gun when it went off by accident. 2 IC keeps shouting his accusations, but the Commandant cuts him short, ordering his men to kill them all. He then commands that 2 IC's body be taken away along with the rest of the women. The next morning, Agu watches as 2 IC slips away, whispering that it was all for nothing before breathing his last. Agu quietly reports his death to the Commandant, who brushes it off with cold pragmatism. These are hard times, he says. You can never know who to trust. But then he fixes his gaze on Agu, saying that he trusts him. That night, the rebels mourn 2 IC's death and pray for his soul.
Our Father, today we lost our fellow soldier. Guide him forever and ever. Amen.
The Commandant names his replacement, then urges the men to fill their own pockets instead of waiting for the Supreme Commandant to reward them. Under the cover of darkness, the NDF push deeper into the forest. They stop to rest, but their sleep is shattered by incoming missiles. Explosions rip through the camp, killing most of them, including the newly appointed 2 IC. As Agu stares at the bodies scattered around him, a heavy truth sinks in. When the war ends, he will never again know the life of a child. They press on through the darkness of the night, but deep down, Agu knows they've lost all hope of a better tomorrow. The next morning, hunger drives Agu and Strika to eat a live grasshopper. As they push deeper into the forest, gunfire erupts and the group scrambles for cover. When the shots die down, the Commandant orders them to move out. Agu follows, then notices Strika hasn't moved. He rushes back and realizes Strika is badly hurt. Driven by pure determination, Agu lifts him and carries him forward. They catch up with the others, but as the hours stretch on, Agu's strength fades. He wants to admit he can't continue. But instead, he leans close and softly tells Strika he can hear his mother singing. When Strika stays silent, Agu knows something is wrong. He lowers him to the ground, shaking him and pleading. But Strika doesn't move. The others gather, understanding, without words, and gently cover him with leaves. Later, Agu sticks close to Preacher as he fires at an unseen enemy. Running low, Preacher orders Agu to fetch more bullets. Agu searches the others, but no one has any to spare. Left with no choice, he heads back to the main camp. On his way to camp, Agu takes in the state of the NDF. Corpses rot in ditches, the sick lie groaning on the ground, and the desperate claw at the dirt for gold they'll never find. When he finally reaches the Commandant, Agu tells him they need bullets. The Commandant only sighs, admitting things weren't meant to turn out this way. Then, with a hollow smile, he tells Agu not to worry, because he is his father, and he will always protect him.
It wasn't supposed to be the way that it's turned out to be. Everybody betrays you eventually. But you, I will always protect you, Agu, because you are my son. And a son always protects a father.
Before Agu can answer, Preacher storms over. He reports that they've run out of bullets and declares they're leaving.
I'm going, sir. No bullets. What am I going to use to shoot my enemy?
The Commandant snaps back, insisting no one supports him, but Preacher rallies the men.
Who wanna stay here and die?
I wanna go, sir.
Then come and tell him how you feel.
The Commandant warns the men that if they surrender to the PLF, they'll lose everything, the riches they fought for, and even their families will disown them. But one by one, every soldier, except Agu, declares they're leaving. In a final act of defiance, Preacher points his gun at the Commandant, threatening to kill him, only to realize the chamber is empty. Just then, Agu turns towards the Commandant, lifting his weapon. The Commandant meets his gaze and challenges him.
Come, Agu, come, put it here. Yeah, okay, Commander.
Agu lowers it, refusing to act. When asked if he intends to surrender to the PLF, Agu quietly says yes. Disappointment flashes across the Commandant's face. He vows that when he rises again, he will call for them. But his words fall on deaf ears.
I know that I will be calling for you one day. Go and drink gunpowder tea and play in drafts. No. You go remember me. You go remember you, Commandant. You go say, yeah. Remember, I will call for you again. And you will come. Remember.
One by one, the soldiers abandon him, Agu among them, until the Commandant is left utterly alone. The NDF march to a PLF camp and surrender. Ordered to drop their weapons, they place their hands on their heads as a guard calls for reinforcements. That night, the surrendered rebels are searched for hidden arms before being led away under guard. Agu later wakes to find himself in a surprisingly comfortable dormitory, where children play outside as if the war and its horrors had never existed. When the teachers arrive, the children step outside to greet them. Later, in class, Agu's teacher asks how he's settling in. Agu stays silent, but inside he feels a small measure of relief, knowing he'll be here for a long while. Still, the past haunts him. Nightmares plague his sleep, and even the food unsettles his body. One night, the former NDF boys erupt into a riot, singing war songs to soothe their pain. When a staff member tries to calm them, Preacher lashes out, accusing him of poisoning the food, because clearly the UN has nothing better to do than secretly sabotage them. He insists the war isn't over, claiming their country still needs fighters like them. One night, Preacher tries to rally Agu and the other boys to return to the war, but they refuse, unwilling to step back into the horrors they've already endured. Meanwhile, another boy, Randy, chooses to follow Preacher. The next day, Agu sits down for a therapy session with his teacher, Amy. Uncomfortable under her gaze, he asks her to stop staring, but she explains it's the only way they can have a normal conversation. Agu resents her. While he's lived through war, she knows nothing of it.
I am like old man, and she's like small girl, because I am fighting in war, and she's not even knowing what war is.
Amy gently asks Agu what's on his mind. He tells her he's been thinking about his future. When she presses, asking how he sees it turning out, Agu finally opens up. He admits he's done terrible things and witnessed even worse, but now all he wants is a chance at happiness. If he were to tell her everything, he says, she'd see him as a beast, forgetting that he once had a family who loved him. Not long after, a small miracle unfolds. For the first time in what feels like forever, Agu allows himself to just be a child again. On a sunlit beach, he runs, laughs, and plays, if only for a moment free from the shadow of war. This is hands down one of my favorite war films of all time. Idris Elba gave a powerhouse performance, and honestly, I think he was robbed of an Oscar. What makes the movie even more haunting is that the child soldier training scenes were drawn from real accounts in Sierra Leone and Liberia, and many of the background actors were former child soldiers themselves, which gave the film its raw authenticity. Comment below with your thoughts on this movie, and let me know which war film you'd like me to cover next. Thanks for watching.